everyone. Thank you for joining another episode of Talking with EDU Thompson. Today I'm here with two amazing educators to discuss the importance of self-care. It is important to note, as we discuss self-care, we see self-care as a general term that describes everything you do deliberately for your mental, physical, and emotional well-being. We are coming upon the time of year that many educators are stressed out, and even more so this year. I would love to hear from you all. How are you promoting self-care with your staff?
Self-care in 2020 has been quite the feat. Self-love. Like, how do you give yourself a hug every day? That's what I think about with self-care. And, for me personally, I find myself moving in the morning. So whether or not that's a walk, that's a run, that's, music or podcasts, on my journey to help me focus in on the work that I'm going to do for the day, or just kind of allow all of the thoughts that run around in your head and your mind to just kind of settle. And so I find that, it's been really enlightening to be able to really think and brainstorm as I'm walking, as I'm running, allowing that oxygen to flow. Some of the other things that I've been talking with staff about is just mindfulness and just being incredibly mindful and, whatever, affirms who you are and where you are and just your state of being, that you walk and breathe in purpose, and that, today is a new day and you can start enjoy, are super helpful. And one other thing that we've really been talking to people about as a staff is, finding your tribe. And sometimes it's about being part of a connected community that we create on campus or another, professional learning network or community, but find a space where you can be brave in it and talk through the challenges or you can ask for advice and find those spaces that allow you to be whole, even if you feel like you're just crumbling. Because every day we have to face, a new day, new challenges, new experiences, but new highlights, new insights, and new joys. So that's some of the things that I'm definitely seeing and promoting with my community.
Oh, that's such a great response. One of the things that I really like that was mentioned is connection. Find your people with whom to connect. I think during pandemic, few things have been lost, to say the least. And one of them might be your sense of self when your immediate routine and environment and spaces have changed around you. But also one of our basic needs, I'm wondering if it gets overlooked, is our sense of belonging. So not just to have a sense of self, but to also foster a sense of belonging with a greater learning community. That's so important right now. One of the things that we're doing at our school is we've been having morning meetings with students for the last couple of years. And it's a time where we have a greeting first thing in the morning. Pre-COVID time, students would form a circle or an oval, and we would have a greeting. And then there would be a simple prompt, which might be a question like, would you rather walk through a dark cave or swim in the ocean or something like that? And that gives each person an opportunity to respond. So there are norms where each person speaks and everyone else is listening. And so each voice is heard. And I think that's so important. So we have a greeting and then a prompt and sometimes a share after that. And it's such a great opportunity to connect. And so we were thinking about this model of a morning meeting with students. What if we had a morning meeting with the adults, with our staff? And so we tried a version of this unknowingly at the time. It was for a different purpose, but we had something like a morning meeting with 2 grade levels at a time. And it was, even though it was over the computer like this, on screens, we learned things about each other as people that we had not known about each other in working just down the hall or across the hall or a couple of rooms down for the last 20 years. We learned things about people's family members, about their health, some preferences they have in the workplace, and just really how they're doing, just to connect and to strengthen the relationship piece. It's so crucial right now.
I love what you both have said, and you're right. That sense of belonging and finding your tribe is really important because those are your people and that's who you can connect with. I wanted to go into what are some self-care tips that you would provide for others, because oftentimes educators have a hard time fitting it into their schedule. So love to hear some tips from you all.
So when I think about self-care tips, I always think about, maybe I think about this as ABCs. I am always working to be kind to myself because we realize that we're in this world of imperfection. And Brene Brown, and I love Brene Brown. Love, love, love. Like, I am a super fan of Brene Brown. And she recently said in The Gifts of Imperfection, no matter what gets done and how much is left undone, I'm enough. And you have to know that. It's going to bed at night thinking, yes, I am imperfect and vulnerable and sometimes afraid, but that doesn't change the truth that I'm also brave and worthy of love and belonging. So you have to be kind to yourself. Two, I find myself bringing stories of inspiration or curiosity to conversations because it's important to know that there are small wins you've had. And sometimes you need to carry those with you because that's the thing that brings other people together. That's what builds the connectedness that Kyle talked about. And C, I think about care in the form of quality time with loved ones. And so I also find that, like, that cup of coffee in the morning, like enjoying that cup of coffee or that cup of tea, with someone, with your dog or cat or pet, your loved one, your partner, like, that's super important. And that could be the walk that, Kyle does with his family. It could be that you're doing that with your best friend. You could be having a virtual, like 5K, 10K marathon. But I think that it's important to make sure that you always make sure you're kind to yourself. Two, or B, that you bring those stories of small wins and triumphs with you because that's what keeps you going at night and after you have been spent. And C, I think about care in the form of quality time because sometimes that's the love language that will help you to triumph through the trials that you go through.
So how do you self-care? Such a great question. I absolutely love being connected, and especially being connected on social media, especially on Twitter. And I just can't get enough. I'm so grateful for all the people in my network. I sincerely value them and their contributions, their opinions to help me become better. However, I'm learning that sometimes you need to disconnect. You need to unplug. And there are strategies that might seem so extreme as to actually disable notifications to certain apps on your phone. Because if you're like me, your phone goes with you everywhere, and it's possible to change the notifications or even to take those apps completely off of your phone. And so I'm working toward that. But while I'm online, I do get such inspiration from leaders like Craig, and I know that he is a runner. And so one of my favorite ways to self-care is to go on a run. And I just go for a run around a lake nearby. It's about a 2.5 mile lap, if you will. But for me, it's not necessarily as much about the run or the physical activity. Although the cardio helps your entire health, especially mentally, I think, with endorphins and all. For me, it's also just about getting away. So it's embedded into our week as a family. I will go and run, walk, jog around the lake. It's more about the time away. It's more about having some moments in nature to simply think. Sometimes I listen to a podcast and sometimes I don't. And my family, we're intentional about having these times built into our schedule for each other, especially during pandemic times. And one thing that we try to do every single day, unless it's raining, of course, is we try to go for a family walk. So my wife and I have a 2-year-old. And so the three of us try to go for one walk every night, just before dinner, just after work before dinner in that time. And one of the rules is no phones. So completely unplugged. And I still find myself reaching into my pocket to check that notification that I could have disabled. And so I'm working on these things, but I didn't realize after being connected for so long just how important those steps might be to your overall value in self-care.
I love that. And you're right. It's really hard and it is a journey to self-care. I know for me, it's something I've struggled with. So I have to intentionally put times in my calendar to say, this is what I'm going to do. So I now try to take 15 to 20 minute lunch where I'm not also checking email, but I'm actually just eating my lunch, just to have that downtime to really get myself, collected for the end of the day or the rest of the work day. And then something else that I've been trying to do recently is, now that we are in this pandemic and we're working from home, it's really hard to separate work and your life, so to speak, even more than it was before. And so now I'm really trying to leave my computer up in my office and not bringing it down to, watch TV, where before I used to watch TV and do some work on my computer. And now I really try to keep it up in the office. That's my work time. That's when it's there. And so I can be intentional and be there and spend time with my husband, that quality time. So I love those strategies.
I also think about, well, what do you say to the person who says, I don't have time for self-care? I have too many responsibilities, too much to do. Because those are really important considerations on how do you get someone to shift their mindset around the fact that there are small moments in your life that you can build it in, and you may not even call it self-care. Really enjoying a cup of coffee is self-care. Having that cookie, if you want that cookie, is self-care. You stopping and breathing is self-care. You say no to something when you've said 10 yeses and you say no to that 11th. That's self-care. And so people may not think that they can fit it in, but you'd be surprised.
And I like that too. I was thinking as you were talking, I also love Brene Brown very much. And another author that I'm really researching lately is Sarah Johnson. And she was one of 3 authors who wrote Balance Like a Pirate, I believe, with Jessica Cabine and Jessica Johnson. And they actually have resources to help you prioritize time into different quadrants. And you realize that your personal quadrant, your overall wellness, is the same space and equal to your professional quadrant. And so when you actually see it on paper, literally as the same size and shape, the same importance of the same priority, it was eye-opening for me, because I think, I spend probably, maybe like you feel like maybe 18 to 20 hours of your day working, preparing for work, thinking about it, winding down from work, thinking about not working. And when you see that both personal and professional are of equal importance, is so powerful. I'm still researching, but I'm finding it very helpful to have even a little extra time to invest in resources and authors who really focus on balance and who've lived the experience. That means a lot to me.
Yeah, Kyle, that makes me think about Trello. Trello is an app that I know some of us use, and it's interesting because you can, I'm one of those people who love the little goal setting. I love to see I want my pie to be green, right? I think lots of us whatever is the accomplishment, but you love that trophy to say you accomplished it, and so building it into your calendar and seeing that you actually are accomplishing it. So some of us, we are goal oriented. We want the marathon, necklace that we job well done. Maybe that's the way you do it. Is if you're competitive, build it in. It could be, I'm going to get 20 minutes of walking time in, or I'm going to step away and have a no screen time. And I'm going to try to do that 3 times a week, and just start with small things. And, that app helps you to do that. You can build in Google Calendar invites that says breathe, just like it does on your watch, for those who are Apple Watch users. But there's so many ways to go about it and still get it in.
I love that. Yeah, especially making it a habit. I know for me, when I was really trying to focus in on this, I made a habit tracker so I could click, and just the fact of me clicking it, yes, I did this, helped me. And then it became just a habit. And now I don't have to have that habit tracker, but that's something that really helped me. It was just a simple Google spreadsheet to say, yes, I did this. But that just clicking it. It's kind of like when you write a to-do list and you get to cross it off, just that sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, and I think it's scientific too, right? I think I've heard the brain does not like open loops. And so actually making a list and then crossing it off feels like to the brain that it's closing a loop. Or if you can move something from the to-do column to the done column or the follow-up column, then it can give you a sense of accomplishment, which can potentially ease some anxiety that may have been decreasing your self-care. I think there's a book about how to get things done, something like that, if I have that right. where they talk about several different ways to work more efficiently in the time that you have and with the resources that you have.
So self-care is really important, obviously, for educators. What would you suggest for self-care for students so educators can help promote self-care for students?
I'm going to tag team off of what Kyle said. One is you have to be intentional about making sure you build it into the day. And so I think teachers want to position students to be more metacognitive about it, thinking about, have I done these things? So morning meeting is, have I actually taken the time to contribute to the conversation? Or, we're going to take a brain break. Yes, sometimes you just have to tell kids that this is a thing you can try that helps you manage all of the things that are happening. Because our kids want to know, I'm stressing out about things. There's anxiety that shows up. Maybe I'm fearful. Different emotions show up in our kids' lives. And so I know 4 and 5-year-olds who they just want to sit and playing cereal or playing, with math, when that's self-care to them. They're like, look, I just want to play. And as you get older, you have 13-year-olds who are also like, look, I'm tired of all this Zoom calling. I want some self-care. Okay, you get 10 minutes to play a game and then you got to come back. But that way they can say, all right, cool. You're telling me that I don't always have to be super focused on this, all of these academics, that I can actually step away from it and come back to it. Yes, you can, but you have to come back to it. Just know that I'm not giving you a 30-minute, you out playing Call of Duty. You get 10 minutes and then you got to come back. And the Call of Duty is the civilization's assignment we're going to work on.
So something I've been thinking a lot about lately is what I heard from ASCD emerging leader Tammy Musiowski. On Twitter, I saw that she had shared how she's trying to balance her time that she consumes versus the time she creates. So consumption versus creation time, I think, definitely factors into the overall self-care. And really, I believe educators play a very integral role in fostering student self-care. So are educators embedding flexibility in their online and blended learning opportunities that will allow for students to complete their assignments and responsibilities, both synchronous and asynchronously, when it's most appropriate for them? As educators, we have no idea, really, the kinds of resources, the environment, perhaps the access that students may actually have at home, let alone the potential support from parents, and not to mention technology support. And so what you could recommend for student self-care is to be aware, to acknowledge, to embrace those potential possibilities of this pandemic time directly into our instruction. In serving the needs of the whole child, we have to consider the needs of the whole child beyond just the instructional needs.
My 3 takeaways from today's discussion are: 1, find your tribe, as they will be the ones to help you along the way. 2, remember you are enough. Give yourself grace and know it's okay to feel lots of emotions. 3, self-care is personal. What motivates you and inspires you is different than someone else, and that is okay. Thank you for joining Talking with EDU Thompson. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.